All right. Hi, teachers. It's 3 o'clock here on Tuesday, November 16th, 2021. I am so excited to jumpstart a brand new series for UEN and GEGUtah on applied digital skills. Now, if you have never heard of Google's applied digital skill program, don't worry. It's all good. We're going to get you set up. But the biggest thing you should know is that it's a repository of 150-ish. So there's always growing, always more. It's probably gonna get to 200 by the time I finish this video, something like that. Lessons that teachers can use in their classrooms any day of the week. It's free materials to teach the digital skills that we want our students to learn in the 21st century with Google. So things like how to manage a sheet or a slide deck or create a form or a Google site, but then also to do it in a curriculum format. Teaches them through the videos, and then also it applies all the materials. And so today what we're going to do, and for the next several weeks, is we're going to do a lesson plan a week. We're going to look at that lesson plan and show you what it looks like from applied digital skills and walk you through the process of prepping that lesson for your students and some of the pitfalls and problems that you could face. And then we're also going to look at some remixes and some ideas that you as a teacher can do in your classroom, depending on curriculum, content area, and grade level. So I'm very excited about this today. I'm excited to share it with you. Now, everything that we're going to be working on today is on a Google site, and I'm going to keep updating this over the next 10 weeks as we do more of these lesson plans. We'll be doing roughly 10 weeks of the series. The goal being that we go to the end of January every Tuesday. There'll be a couple weeks, obviously, a couple weeks during the holiday break, and then there's a week I'll be gone, but we'll be doing these for the nest 10 weeks or so to the end of January. So with that said, let's jump in. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the stuff that we have going on with applied digital skills right now. So first off, here's a site that we're going to be using, and this is linked in the description that I sent out to a lot of different places, but also you can just go ahead and put in this link. It's go.uen.org/lowercase b, uppercase t, and a 9. So again, go.uen.org/b, lowercase b, uppercase t, and a 9. So go ahead and follow on that site, and we'll get into it. A couple things that we're going to do today, and I'm just going to copy this link and put it into the chat for a few people that are in here. I think that's the right. Oop, that is not correct. I sent the link for the site today is go.uen.org/lowercase b, uppercase t, and a 9. So everything on the site is free. You can share this with whatever teachers you want and make sure you're good to go. I'm going to just check one thing really quick. This is on the fly here, so always got to check things. My computer's being a little bit slow. While that's checking really quick, what I'm checking is your share settings, which is something we always got to check when our students, there we go. Got to make it public. All right. We always got to check with these applied digital skills lesson plans. So with that said, let's jump into the site as soon as it loads up. So on the site, you're going to find all the materials for every lesson that we're going to do in this series, as well as I'll post the videos in post so you can share them out with your fellow teachers, but also any of the materials to make these lessons I've linked, as well as some lesson plan material that I am using and I've created for this series as well. So a couple things. Number one, there's that site. Here's my information. I am Matt Winters from UEN. I am the GEGUtah leader. You can click on that link to join GEGUtah. We'd love to have you. We just passed 100 members in that group, and it just keeps growing. I'm very excited about that. You can email me at mwinters@uen.org. I'm at Teacher Winters on Twitter and at Teacher Winters Utah on Instagram, which I need to get better about posting on Instagram. Down below on the same page as the homepage, you're going to find a few resources. First of all, you're going to find our product page for UEN, tons of resources there for teachers and admin to build their Google work. We have Google's EDU in 90 video series. That's the latest is in October. They're coming out with a new one next week, I believe. Really great video series to keep on top of what's new in Google. And then also a wakelet of all the resources UEN offers teachers, tons and tons and tons of material for Utah teachers, as well as our social media profile that you can jump on there as well. All right, with that said, today where we're going to work is, again, we're doing if-then storytelling, which I am so excited about. It's one of my favorite things. It's basically like choose your own adventure stories with your students. It's so much fun. So to get to where we're going to go is there's a little drop down on the menu over here that says Applied Digital Skills Lessons, and that says if then storytelling. So you can click that link. It's going to take you to this page. So a couple things on this page that we're going to be using is, first of all, the lesson plan from Applied Digital Skills right there, if then the adventure story. You can click that link and it's going to take you to the lesson here in just a minute. We'll show you a few things with that as well. Underneath that, you're also going to find the starter project from Google, all the materials for that, my sample projects, and then a remix option through Google Forms. So lots of different things that you can grab onto there as well. So with that said, I'm going to go back to the homepage because we just had a couple people come in. So to find all these resources, it is again go.uen.org/lowercase b, uppercase t, and the number 9. So you can grab those and jump in as quickly as you'd like so you can get all this material and make sure you're in a good place with it. It's also on the description that I sent out today via GG, the courses through UEN and through C Forum. So lots of different places to grab it. And if you have questions as we go through it, go ahead and put them in the chat. I'd be more than happy to answer anything you've got and get you all set up. All right, I'm going to head back to that if-then storytelling link. And let's go ahead and I'm going to jump off of the site, but no, this is just kind of a hub of all the materials we're going to use today. So feel free to make copies and get those into your Google Drive so that you have them for later. But I'm just going to go ahead and jump over to Applied Digital Skills, which is if you click that link at the top of our site right here, that's going to take you there, or right here in the middle. But you can also Google search this Applied Digital Skills. So as I said at the top of the hour, there are over 150 lesson plans in here that Google has created to teach students how to use the technical products that they have. So things like docs and slides and sheets and forums and sites, but also do it in a way that embraces curriculum or content areas. So today, like I said, we're going to do if-then stories, which is great for ELA and science and math, and just across the spectrum, you can do some really cool things with them. We'll get into that here in a minute. So it's already part of your Google portfolio, and all you have to do is when you go there, click sign in, grab your account, and you can go ahead and start looking for lesson plans. And you can actually pull your students into here via Canvas or Google Classroom and have them do the lessons right here and track their progress. For right now, though, we're going to hit Browse Lessons, and you can go ahead and start searching right here on the left-hand side, grade level, so late elementary, middle, high school, or adult learners. You can also search by tool and by topic, so content area basically for us. They also have collections for like computer science, college readiness, Google Workspace training, and digital arts and games. They also had one that was at the beginning of the year of lessons for beginning of the year, which is really cool and lots of really good stuff in there. But we're going to go ahead and add in right here at the top, it says if-then adventure story, but it is already linked at the top of this page. So if you go ahead and click that link, it's going to take you directly to it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And it's going to start us off here. So this is what the lesson plan looks like for our students. They come to this point, they see the lesson, you can add it to class, or you can go ahead and click start. From there, and I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what this is, and then we're going to jump into actually doing it as a group, which is the fun part. So they click start, and it walks them through with pre-made videos that tell them the exact process and gives them wait time for each step of the process. So it makes it really easy for students to comprehend the material. Plus they can go back and rewatch the video as well, which is really nice. Down here in the bottom right corner, they also have a download option, captions, playback speed, and picture-in-picture. I love this download option because they made this open source. So if you don't love sending your students to Applied Digital Skills and having them do the lesson plan there, you'd rather them go to Canvas or Google Classroom, or even over to like Microsoft Teams, you can download their videos and send them there and have them embedded on your LMS of your choice. As students work through, they click next. All the materials are right here at the top. And then we also have instructions along the side, and you can see they also have links over there to work with as well. So they keep going through, they can watch the videos, they can watch their playback speed as quickly as they'd like. As they go through, it gives them tons and tons of feedback as what's going on in the lesson and makes it clear the needs and things that are happening in there. All right. At the end of the lesson, they do have a little kind of questionnaire for the students to see what they thought of the activity, just so they can revamp the activities and those sorts of things. As I've been using Applied Digital Skills over the last couple of years, it's been around for about 3-4 years. I've noticed that some of the lesson plans that were there at the beginning have changed and gotten better over time. So It's really kind of cool. All right, going back to our homepage today. Again, it's linked right here. So if you want to check that out or save it for later, you can go ahead and click on that. And for those of you that just came in, I believe Mary just walked in. All the materials for today are right here at go.uen.org/lowercase b, uppercase t, and 9. I'm going to go ahead and type that into the chat so that everyone has it as well. All right, so let's get into what this lesson plan actually is. So when we go back to Applied Digital Skills and we go back a couple pages, what they want us to do is we're going to do some storytelling. So this is obviously the first place my brain jumps to. Maybe it's because of my content area. Maybe it's because, the name is storytelling, but I go to ELA standards. Through 6 to 12, there's a lot of different strands that discuss writing stories or evaluating stories. And so this is a lesson plan that could help students, write their story in an interesting and engaging way. But then on the flip side, help them learn some digital skills that can help them in other classes. However, I could also see this applied to social studies classes. You could do this easily as a biographical assignment in a science class. Heck, you could even do this in a math class and have them explain the steps of a problem as they went through. So there's lots of different content areas that this fits into. What we're going to do over the next about 20 minutes is I'm going to walk you through every part of the lesson. And at some points, I might ask you to drop some things in the chat because I think it's really fun to have some feedback. So if you're willing, I'd love to see your feedback as we go through. So the first thing that Google asks, Applied Digital Skills goes through here is that they honor that we need to give our students time to brainstorm their activity, brainstorm their story. So right here on this page, I stopped here very specifically. They offer some instructions and a link to the starter project. Now that starter project is also linked on our Applied Digital Skills homepage, right here where it says Google Starter Project, and that same link is right here. So if you forget where the Applied Digital Skills lesson is, it's also on our site, so it makes it easy for you. It'll ask you to make a copy, and this also works for your students. And once you make a copy, you're going to find this particular page. So if then adventure, it asks you to fill in setting, characters, plot, and write a synopsis. Now, what's great about this is as a teacher, I already have a document that I can hand out to my students and a link to work off of. So if I want my students to go and write a story, I know they're going to have a setting, they're going to have characters, they're going to have plot, and they're going to have synopsis. And this gives them that space to brainstorm that story and work it through, which I think is just a great way to imply the standards groupings and the ideas that we want to get across in the content area through the technology to our students. So as a brainstorming act, well, before I even get into that, as a history teacher, I might change some of these. So instead of setting, I could have location. Instead of characters, I could have historical figure. Instead of plot, I could have events. And when synopsis kind of works there. So easily manipulable and changeable as well. I'm just going to change that back to the 3 that were there. So really simple to morph it into something that works for us as teachers. So I'm going to go ahead and do this really quick. So can someone give me a setting? Is anybody going to be brave enough to drop a setting for us in the chat? Give you 30 seconds of wait time. One of my favorite settings of all time, and this is what we'll use if I don't get any suggestions, is I love teaching the most dangerous game to my students in 8th and 9th grade, whatever class I was teaching that year, because the little kid in me loves adventure stories, and that's one of the best, but also it has some great moral quandaries throughout the story, those sorts of things, but it's a great setting. It's an island. Nobody's on the island except for this crazy madman and his henchmen. And then you're being chased throughout this island. So I guess we'll do that. We'll go do an abandoned island. And students could come up with multiple. So maybe you're working in groups. So maybe they're like, I don't like the abandoned island, but I do like the idea of an abandoned space. Ooh, oh. And see, this is where we get like everyone coming in with some great ideas. I'm going to go do abandoned airstrip. The wonderful Mary Saylor just said, set in downtown Paris. Ooh. So the same idea. So we got some plot. Maybe we're going to keep that as the same idea of the most dangerous game and 2022, something like that. So we've got a couple different settings, and we can keep coming up with more. Maybe students want to have some more plot points. Maybe as a group, they decide that they want to add a romance theme to it as well. I don't know. Maybe there's a romance part of it or something like that. Or maybe they want to add a horror element, as a lot of my 8th and 9th grade students love to do. So they just keep brainstorming and developing this. Then they also have our characters. So maybe we want to have a down on his luck 30s man. Maybe we need a rich, well-to-do expert in guns, something like that. And we could keep going and adding more and more and more. But this is kind of the first thing that you'd want to do in this particular lesson is decide, what are these 3 ideas up here? Like, is it going to stay as setting, characters, and plot? Or are you going to get a little bit more granular? Are you going to add maybe another column here? So maybe we want to insert in the table. Let's see. No, I clicked on the wrong spot. There we go. So insert another row above and have more information. So maybe we want to add with settings some details. Maybe we want to have our rising action over here. Maybe we want to have some the clothing that they're wearing, some description. Ooh, I like that description. So this is totally granular, but you have these different options to build off of and do some really cool things with. Once students spend about a day in this, and this is what Google recommends, is that they spend a little bit of time working on this either individually in groups, and then they write their synopsis of 7 to 9 sentences, or less or more, depending on your grade level or your needs. But having that synopsis really helps students to understand exactly what the story they're telling. Now, from there, they also then recommend that you give a few days, maybe a week, for students to actually write that story and go through the writing and revision process. So you're having your students write maybe for 2 or 3 days in class, or outside of class, and then they come together and they do some writer's workshop and things like that. That is a fantastic way to do it. One of my favorite ways of doing writer's workshop is I loved using Post-its, where we'd share each other's scripts either physically or digitally, and then we'd hand off Post-its about what they liked and things that they would change about the story as well. That was always a really great way to do it. Fantastic for science and math and social studies as well. So now, jumping ahead, because we want to make sure we get to the awesome if-then part. So once students have written their story, they've gone through the brainstorming, written their story, they've gone through the writer's workshop. Now we want to actually write this as an if-then story, okay? So now we jump over to Google Slides. So what we do is we can grab one of our templates. So on the site, I have 3 different sample projects that you as a teacher can steal, borrow, and I'll walk you through here in a minute how I made these. But I have a world traveler story template, a board game story template, or a digital storytelling template. I'll just kind of show you what these look like. So this one's the world traveler, got some maps. We've got the digital storyteller. I like the little screens and you can work with that. And the last one is this cute little board game story. Now, what's nice about these ones that I made for you that are templates that you can make a copy of is that they're tied only to, so I'm going to make a new slide. So notice that I grabbed the same format there, but if I change my layout, they only have those 4 options for that slide. And I'll show you how I did that here in a few minutes, but I think it's really important to kind of let the students choose their story and get excited and those sorts of things, but kind of limit what they can do with the actual structure in here, because it kind of opens it up a little too far if we give too much stuff. So the basic premise of an if-then story is that at some point in the story, so we're going to call this our title page. And you notice that I have a title page for each format, that the board game kind of counts as that. You have chapters or sections on here. So this might be, we're going to add a little header here. We're going to say this is chapter 1. Or we could do choice 1 because maybe we want to do this as a choose your own adventure. Choice 2. And so on and so forth. So now we can link to specific slides. So like for instance, if I highlight my text here and I right click and click link, I can go ahead and link to a specific slide in here. So I want slide 3. There you go. And now that becomes a link directly to this slide. So now when somebody comes in and presents this, this links directly over to it, creating that if-then story perception. Another way to do that is one of my favorite hotkeys. It's Control K. And then again, we can do slide 4 and click apply. And that gets us to choice 2. And we'll just keep going. We'll add one more here really quick. I'm gonna do it one more time the other way. We'll put in 5, slide 5, and we're good to go. Now students could add another chapters page or header page, whatever we want to call it. But the goal here is that they're thinking about choice. And so we've got this activity that sends us to the specific slide. On that slide now, I'm going to write my story. Okay, copy and paste it, add it, whatever I want. I also added a little picture here on some of them so they can upload a picture of something that they want to share, like a picture of a famous actor to represent a character in the story, or a picture of the setting or what they visualize the setting might be. But what's fun about this is after they write their story, it's kind of like a choose your own adventure novel. So they say, okay, you have a choice. Do you run, maybe at the end of this, it's run left. And then the next one is run right. The next one is run straight. And the last one is stand still. So now we can go down here, create a new slide. I'm just going to duplicate this one a couple times. And notice that why I'm doing that is because now I have 4 choices that I want to send my story to. So for run left, I'm going to go ahead and hit Control K, and I'm going to send them to slide 7. Run straight, I'm going to go ahead and hit Control K again. I'm going to go send that one to slide 8. Control K, slide 9. Oh, I don't have a slide 9, slide 6. And then maybe stand still, I'll go to slide 5. Oh, there we go. So what that does now is that sends that choice to another part of the story. So in essence, you're creating this web of storytelling that the student has to remix their original story in a new way to allow for choice. And what's great about it is that once I hit share, or not share, sorry, present, and I go in here and see my slides, it goes ahead and sends me to that specific slide, which is really, really fun for storytelling to see the choice that you make send you to the location of something new that maybe you haven't seen before. So that is the essence of an if-then story under Google, is being able to set up a story where you have initial choice that sends to other slides to continue that choice-making process down the line. Now, this can get out of hand super quick with our students. Maybe you're thinking, oh, I will have them do 3 choices. Well, that 3 choices is then 3 times 7, which is 21, because each choice then has an outcome. So it gets really big really quickly. So instead of 3 choices, you might have 2 choices, 1 and 1. That kind of cuts it down a little bit, but still it branches very, very quickly. And then you have more and more slides, more and more story. And from my experience, I actually did this with my students in my creative writing class a few years ago. It is a fantastic tool for them to really dig in and learn the ins and outs of storytelling, but then also to tell an engaging story where people really are invested in that next choice that they can build off of. All right. Any questions? Jump on the mic or drop them in the chat as we go through. But the same principle goes on these next slides. So you could go ahead and add specific subtext here for like your choices or like starting points in the story. And then you have your 1, 2, 3 choices and the bit of story you're writing. And all you do is, again, duplicate slide or a new slide and choose your layout that you'd like. Now, I want to talk a little bit about how I made this. So this is a little bit more technical, but I think it's helpful for a lot of teachers to see how something like this was made so you can personalize it and make it your own. So the first thing I did, I'm going to pull this up really quickly because I got to drag it over, is I went to one of my favorite tools, which is this place called Canva. This is a free tool for educators. You can apply for an educational license. And what it allows you to do is make really great looking presentations that then you can pull into Google. So what I did is I went into a brand new design. So I just looked up presentation because I know they have a format that's that size. So right here, the first one. And in here, they offer a ton of already made education, simple presentation styles, but they also have this section that's just game presentations. And I love using this section for storytelling because it gets us into that mindset of building something that's really interesting and engaging for everyone. So I'm going to grab this one with little dinosaurs here. I'm going to grab this home page. And what I did first is I just deleted any text. I don't need that text on this, but I do like the graphics and the pictures and things like that. Underneath, I went ahead and grabbed a second slide. We're going to go with this guy. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this big picture and leave it blank there so that the students can add another picture. And again, get rid of any text. So I'm just going to stop there, but I went and grabbed 4 different designs. So one for kind of a title page, one for like a table of contents page or choice page, and then the individual choice pages, I made 2 of those going down. From there, then I just go up here and hit download, PNG, hit one of those, and download each one. And it just takes a second to download. And I'm just going to download both of them really quickly. All right. Okay, now I've got that done. I'm going to go back over to Google and use one of my favorite shortcuts, which is slides.new, to get a brand new slide deck. I'm going to title this Dinosaur Storytelling. All right, cool. Now, this is where it gets really fun. Because if we go back to any of these presentations that I've shared with you, notice that I can't click on the background and drag it. I can drag the text, but I can't drag anything else on it. That's because I created a new theme. So if I go into here, in my new story, click Insert, View and Theme Builder, it takes me to this format. And if you've never seen this, this is really cool. First of all, I can delete any of the pre-made stuff that's on there. I can drag in my picture and resize it to fill up the whole slide presentation. It's a little bit off, so. There we go. Usually not a perfectionist, but I want to make sure that looks good. So that now will be the background image of my entire presentation for that particular slide. And I can go ahead and play with the order and send it all the way to the back so I make sure that my text is ready to go. The second thing I'm going to do is right here where it says the text box. Most of us have used the text box before as teachers when we're creating slide decks and things like that. But Google added these 3 little options right here: title placeholder, subtitle placeholder, and body text placeholder. These allow us to put a block of text space, and it just kind of saves that spot. And then you can go ahead, students can go ahead, and when they make a copy, and they can put their own text in there. And I can go ahead and set up a font. So maybe I don't like Arial and I want something a little bit more fun. So I'm going to grab this Lobster font right there. Yeah, that looks good. I'm going to grab Lobster again. And I don't really like that color, so I'm going to make sure the color is all set. I like this blue and I like this red. And now students will automatically type in that red and that blue and that font color, or that font right there. To grab a second one, I can go ahead and click on this, click delete, and grab in my second art as well. Now, I'm going to resize that. I'm going to add a space for my text, just like we did on the last one. I'm going to do subtitle. Boom, change it to lobster. And that's ready to go. But let's say I wanted to have a picture here as well. Well, I want my students to choose their own picture. So right next to the text, we have image placeholder. So I can put an image there that's just like normal. I can drop an image and people can, or the students won't be able to move it. It's just kind of there. But I'm going to add an image placeholder of rectangle, rounded rectangle, or oval, draw it. And now it has that right there for my students. So once you're done, I usually do 4 of those like I did on the other ones, 2 more stories. I'm just not going to do that right now. But I am going to just go ahead and do one more quick thing, because I showed you earlier that on these other slide decks, I can't do any other layout than the 4 that I've set up for my students. So to do that, just on here, you just go ahead and click delete on any of these extra formats. And now the only 2 that the students will be able to choose are these 2. So just click X in the top corner. Let's go ahead and put a new slide in there. I'll apply a layout, and there it is. I'm just going to show you how easy it is to do the picture too. So I'm just going to click that, search the web. Let's do a dinosaur Whoop. Non-scary one. There we go. Perfect. And replace. And now that picture is ready to roll. And I can resize it if I want to, make it easier for my students to see it. It's a little awkward because it's a square picture with a round picture as well, but, or sorry, a circle with a square picture. But you can see it's kind of fun to have the students choose, and it gives them that personality. So that is how you set up one of these stories for your students in the, again, theme builder under view. So you're ready to go. Now, the last thing to get this out to your students to get, I'm sure you might already know this, but it's something that I want to make sure I cover. If you click on these links that I've already set up for you, it gives you a force copy. So I want to show you how to do that really quickly. So let's say I wanted to share this dinosaur one out with my students. I'd go up to share with Utah Education Network. It'll say share with your school, your district right there. I'm going to change that from Utah Education Network to anyone with a link. And I'm going to click copy. From there, I'm going to go ahead and open up a new tab, Control V to paste it. And you can see there is my entire thing. Now, if I hit enter at this point, it's just going to take me back to that slide deck, and I'm going to go through and I can edit and I'm good to go. But I don't want my students to edit, I want their own copy. So right here where it says edit, if you just go ahead and delete edit and write in copy and hit enter, now you have a force copy link. One of the funnest things that you can work with. Now, other ways to get this out to your student would be like using Google's LTIs inside of Canvas, or using Google Classroom to allow students to make copies. Lots of different options, but this is one of my favorite ones to get out to students real quickly as well. All right, one last thing we're going to cover today, because we got about 8 minutes left, is I want to talk about a remix for this. So we've talked a lot about slides and how to do links between different slides. You could do links to outside material as well, like students could link to a GIF or something like that as well. But I want to show you how to do it with a form. So if you go back to GEGUtah, under remix options, and you click this link, it'll take you to a Google form. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull that up. It's going to allow you to make a copy. And again, you can share this with your students, share it with your teachers in your building or teachers you know. And on there, it's going to be a copy of if then story form. You got your story title. It's got a little bit of description. You can change any of these, but there's the first question right here. But click on it is a multiple choice question. So you're going to write your story. Student will write their story. They're going to give options. And right here, it says go to section based on option. So if they choose option 1, it's going to send them to section 2. If it's option 2, they send it to option 3, and you see it starts building up. To get that, I'm just going to go ahead and grab a new question here. Say multiple choice. I'm going to write sample, and I'm just going to click down so we have some options there. To find this, go ahead and hit the 3 dots in the bottom right-hand corner, and right there it says go to section based on answer. It's going to give you that option. You got to make sure you have your sections already pre-made. I pre-made 4 sections for you. Pretty easy to make. You just hit this button right here and it'll add a section, and you can put a new question underneath it. And then all you do is just add the answers there. And recommended they only do this for 1 question per section, but it will send them to that next section based on that. And you can go backwards in the story. You can have them reread sections. I made them do in a test that I once gave on Animal Farm. There's a question, if they answer it wrong, it sent them back to the beginning of the test, because I was trying to be a little evil with that test to mimic Napoleon. But it was super fun, because then they went, oh, I answered the wrong question. I got to go back through, answer the questions again, get back to that point. Obviously, that wasn't the right answer. Now I can answer it correctly. So this is just another way to do that. Again, it spirals really quickly, because for every option, you got to tell a section of your story. And then from every option off there, you got to have 3 or 4 options for the next part of the story, and so on and so forth. So as a ELA teacher, I always limit my students to about 3 layers of the story. So your first layer, your first question, the answer to that, and all the corresponding story parts, and then 1 more past that. If they want to do more, they can do more, but that's a ton of writing, ton of experience to work off of, and it will keep them busy for quite a while as well. Okay, a couple more things just on this Google form as well, just some more options for your students for storytelling. The first one is on any of the questions, Google has added this little button next to the description. This is just to add an image. So this can help with storytelling. hey students, I need you to add an atmospheric picture, tell us the setting, or show us your character, or put a GIF in there to show us exactly what's going on in the story. All those are great options. Students can also add videos through YouTube on here. So I always loved having my students put a piece of music on there that I was supposed to play while I'm reading their story that helps me to understand their story. So like a piece of, instrumental music or a theme from a movie or something like that to help tell the story as well. And then from there, then you just ask the students to share that back with you. You can preview it and you can go through that story and experience this choose your own adventure if then story that is just amazing to work with. Going back to Canva for a second too, up here at the top, you have this little button for customized theme. You can choose an image and you could also make an image on Canva. I always love this size right here. It's a Google Classroom header. That's the same size as your header on a form. So that way you can kind of choose image. I'm just going to go grab the one for our class today. Just a second. That's not what I needed. So you can drag that header, that same size header, onto your form and have the students maybe have a similar style to their story and design. So there you go. You can kind of see, and you can get the same colors and really kind of make it look the same, which is really kind of cool as well. So lots of different ways to do if-then stories through Google and Applied Digital Skills. Again, going back to the very beginning, Applied Digital Skills has hundreds, I think it's 160 something lessons right now of all sorts of stuff. Next week, we're going to be doing portfolios through Google Sites. So it's a whole different way of thinking about it and some different ways of working with that. But there's things on digital footprint and creating quizzes and promoting events, all the way to, I love this section because I don't use it as much as I should. But if you are interested in Sheets, they have a lot of really cool things for planning or making pixel art or creating safe passwords. I mean, things that students need, adults need all the time to walk themselves through the right process. All right, couple things. So again, on our site here, I'm just going to go back to the homepage and send our chat as well. Go.uen.org, lowercase b, uppercase T, 9. Under there, if-then storytelling, link to the lesson on Applied Digital Skills, the starter project from Google, the sample projects I showed today, and then the remix form option from Google or from me as well. So feel free to use any of these. I'm giving you free clearance to share these with whoever you want, remix it how you want, and come up with some great ways of doing it. All I ask is that if you do use it, I would love to see it. So share it back with me. Show me how you changed it, mimicked it, remixed it in some sort of way so that I can see how to do it even more interestingly down the line as well. Next week, again, like I said, we're going to be doing, I'm going to go ahead and show you the lesson that we're going to be doing. It's Google Sites, and we're going to be working on build a portfolio with Google Sites. Our Sites is awesome. It keeps getting better and better and better, and there's so many different things you can do with it. And making a student portfolio helps students who are schools that are doing personalized learning, competency-based learning, to share best student work, either on a classroom level or at a larger level as well, maybe school-wide, or maybe over their lifespan at the school, maybe over a couple of years. And there's some great options for that, and we'll look at some ways to do that, but also we'll look at a remix option that you can do inside of slides as well.